the speech that he gave was so over the top, was so sticky sweet. I think half the country went into a diabetic coma after listening to it. How wonderful this country is, how amazing it is. After just a couple of months ago, he said that they probably did 9/11. They were absolutely horrible. They throw gays off buildings. They're terrible. And, you know, the shift is so radical that I just wonder if any American will remember what happened just a couple of months ago, what he was saying.
Yeah. And, you know, I've preached a case for diplomacy at all times. You know, if we're confronted by the Soviets or whomever, I thought it was, you know, always good to talk. Diplomacy should be practiced. But this trip, I would consider not a diplomatic trip. This was well staged to serve a few special interests, and I would say the most powerful special interest that the president has kowtowed to would be the military-industrial complex. You know, it's up to $350 billion over the next 10 years, and who knows what. You know, and Trump is just excited about this. You know, I keep thinking and trying to analyze him in a way of what excites this man. Well, deals, good deals. Everybody knows that, and business deals. And he's probably pulled off a lot of big deals that were legitimate into the millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. But can you imagine what he might be thinking? This was $350 billion, and my friends are going to get benefit. And one of the parts of the speech that really caught me, that annoyed me, and that was when he was talking about these great Saudis are going to bail us out by spending more money. I don't know where they're going to get it. Spend more money in our country, of course, buy more weapons. And he assured the Saudis, and I will make, ad-libbing, of course, I'm going to assure you that my friends in the military-industrial complex get you a good deal.
Yeah.
I thought, oh my goodness. And, you know, the question it raises, most of the time when we give away foreign aid and do different things, we always have strings attached. And if we go over and invest, there's Overseas Private Investment Corporation, Ex-Im banks get involved. I always assumed that this was probably not the case with the Saudis because they were so wealthy, but they're not so wealthy anymore. They're having some financial troubles.
They spent a ton of money on this horrific war in Yemen. They now have new competition in the world oil markets. Iran is online and others. They're having a hard time, keeping the cartel in line. But, this deal you mentioned, this is so repulsive on so many fronts. I was reading earlier today that literally as soon as Trump was elected, as soon as the inauguration happened, a Saudi delegation flew in, met with Jared Kushner, the son-in-law of the president, and they started negotiating a deal right away. I mean, he probably hadn't been president for 5 minutes before they were landing, started negotiating this big deal. And I know you've always been critical of U.S. arms sale, full stop.
Right.
You think that, the American taxpayer pays for the R&D. These things are to protect America. We shouldn't be selling them anywhere.
But they sell it to the public, politically also, that jobs, they're military Keynesians, jobs, and they build them in every state. Everybody participates in this, so it's an economic thing, but they never ask the question, if we didn't spend it on the military and we weren't dealing with that, what are we losing on? What could have happened with these funds? But I am sure there is always a cost to us, and if the emphasis goes to building weapons, and we're the biggest weapons dealer in the world, probably in the history of the world, it hardly is the way to get economic growth back in. That's where our problem is, and this doesn't deal with it. This is another malinvestment, a distraction, emphasis on something else. And quite frankly, with him saying the nice things about we don't want to deal with your civil liberty problems at home, but he had a lot of emphasis on strong advice about how to deal with the terrorists and deal with them. And, you get rid of them. And it was like he was giving them their marching orders. But what I got from this was that it was a virtual declaration of war. Now that seems